Well, with me is Allan Bell. We're in the Council of Ministers' chambers. We've been upgraded this week. I think it's actually rather palatial for people who... This is where all the information is given out to everybody, and of course where the big decisions are made, would you say?
Absolutely, yes, the power centre.
Now, you have given me some press releases and obviously the news about the development fund and so on, but really the headlines all week on the radio, in the papers, in the media, saturated with this parking issue. Maybe you can shed some light on how it got to this stage, how it seemed to get out of control and has got a life of its own, really, hasn't it?
Well, to begin with...
You're sighing straight away.
Yeah, it's disappointing that a relatively minor issue like parking should dominate the headlines when there are so many big issues that we have to deal with.
It's not minor to a lot of people, you see, is it?
But the rationale behind what the Minister was trying to do was to bring fairness into the system. That's all. It's not really a revenue-raising exercise, because overall it's not going to raise a huge amount of money. Many government workers in the Douglas area have to pay for their parking in one form or another. The idea on the part of the Minister was to extend that to particularly parking in this building and, of course, for senior civil servants who tend mostly to work in this building and, of course, alongside that, for members themselves to pay for parking. It was an exercise to bring in fairness across the system. Now, the Minister, I think, went to great lengths to try and explain that. There seemed to be some doubt whether, in fact, the scheme that was proposed delivered the actual fairness that the Minister was hoping.
Did you think it had holes in it?
Well, the way it was explained to me, I thought it was a workable system. Now, the Minister, I'm sure, will listen to the debate. He's listened to the comments from some of the public outside. And if there is a need to redefine any aspect of it, I'm sure he will give that some consideration. The proposal at the moment, because the vote was lost because of the Houses being in disagreement, the proposal is he'll come back next month with a joint vote, which means that both LegCo and the House of Keys vote together as a single body, as opposed to two separate entities.
There's going to be some amendments, though, aren't there, before?
Well, no, you can't. Well, the actual joint vote is simply that.
It's
exactly, there's no debate on it, there's no amendments to it, It's just coming back with a rerun of the vote last time, which ought to mean that the vote will now be in favour of the resolution as proposed. Now, whether in fact in the intervening period any genuine flaws or problems have been confirmed remains to be seen, but I'm sure if in fact there is hard evidence that we are being unfair in some areas, then I'm sure the Minister will listen to it.
Now, I said at the beginning of this that most of the decisions are made in this room, but I got told that this didn't go through Council of Ministers. This came from Mr. Gordon and his
well, the council obviously is aware of what is being proposed.
But it wasn't your policy.
It's of course the overall parking issues come through council. The scheme itself was drawn up by officers in the Department of.
So you're fully aware of all the ins and outs of this.
Well,
and the rest of the ministers.
The ministers are obviously aware of what goes onto the agenda. It's normal practice. We don't individually research the nuts and bolts of every particular proposal. It's for the officers and the department to bring forward their own suggestions. It all doesn't generate from this room.
So, as we said, parking is one of those issues that gets everyone going. Do you think it could have been handled better, differently, or more information given out? Because it did seem to come slightly left field to most people, even though it was on the agenda.
It's been on the agenda. It's had publicity.
You saw the newspaper
Members
coverage.
knew about
I mean, the headline there. I know the story inside was quite good, but the headline was quite giving.
I don't write newspaper headlines. Right. Journalists write their own headlines. Journalists have listeners to attract, viewers to attract, papers to sell. It's journalists devise the presentation the way they're
the ones that
best.
It's the people out there who actually want to know about this. I mean, I don't know if you can quite blame just the journalists. I mean,
you're saying that it was headlines on the paper.
Yeah, but
I can't dictate what headlines are in the paper.
My point is, when you've got the £50 million enterprise grant thing, that gets put somewhere else. And
I
this
have
sort of story...
that is my big frustration of the week, frankly. We've had a very successful week. Government has got approval for a £50 million enterprise investment fund to stimulate new economic activity. This is the story of the week. We've got to grow the economy. We've got to create new jobs. We've got to get new revenue. This is a distraction, frankly, and it's one which journalists enjoy, and it's one which clearly they're feeding on at the moment. The relevance to the future of the Isle of Man is getting the economy to grow, not whether or not there is a glitch in a scheme for parking charges.
Well, you can say what you want there. The fact of the matter is, more people are interested in the parking day to day. Obviously, look at the airport when they put in a pound charge. That caused huge more problems than maybe the toilet tax or whatever you want to call it was in relevance term.
The long-term needs of the Isle of Man are for economic growth, for jobs, for revenue to be generated. The issue of parking is of minor relevance. Okay. It's a storm in a teacup which will be resolved by next month. There is a joint vote on this again, so if the votes hold from this week, it will go through. If, as I've said, there is a need, if there's an identified need that the scheme needs tweaking, I'm sure the Minister will look at it. It's not the major issue that you journalists like to create. The main issue is creating jobs. It's getting health and social care, which also went through this week. It's biodiversity. It's protecting the environment. These are long-term issues which affect every person on the Isle of Man. This is a short-term storm in a teacup. Members will pay their parking fees. Everybody has said that. There's no issue on this. You're making far more of this than actually exists at the moment.
No.
Yes, you are.
Well, I'm saying no. I'm only going to say that the fact is that we sit here talking about it is because there's an interest in it. I mean, we come in here every week and we have our press releases and we do quite a lot of what you want on the agenda. But sometimes, like this one, you're not so happy about talking about. and clearly you think it is derailing what you want to say. But people have clearly shown that this sort of thing shouldn't have got to the stage it was. And then clearly, it looks like the MHKs should be paying. Everyone seems to be agree with that in MLCs, but it seemed to be a unfair way. Maybe that's why the votes went against.
And that's what I've said. Yeah. I think all members of Tynwald have made it very clear. Those who voted for it and against it are actually in favour of members paying. Yeah. There's no question about that. And I think even journalists have managed to pick up that point. The question that was raised during the debate was whether, in fact, it is fair to the civil servants at different levels who were affected by it. Now, there may be a problem there. I'm not aware of any, but the Minister has listened to the debate, he's listened to the comments from outside, and if there is an unfairness in the system, I'm absolutely sure that he will take relevant steps.
You said you're not aware of any problem with it. You just said that, didn't you? I mean,
if you listen to what I'm saying, you might get the answer. What I'm saying is that there was a full debate about it. Many issues were raised about different parts of the civil service who may or may not be affected by that. The Minister has listened to the debate. The Minister, I'm absolutely sure, will take away those comments, and if there is a clear issue to be resolved, I'm sure he will resolve it. This isn't the major issue affecting the Isle of Man at the moment. This is just one small storm in a teacup, which journalists like yourself are determined to build into a big issue, which frankly will be passed in a week or two and forgotten. You need to look at what the Isle of Man really needs to do, and this is what the journalists are missing. Okay,
how can they tweak it? And then you said that it can only go through exactly as was the last time round, though. So if it has to be tweaked, won't there have to be a complete reworking and go back to the drawing board?
I've nothing more to add on it.
No.
It will be looked at. The comments made in the debate will be reviewed, and if there is a problem, there will be a way of resolving it. It's not the end of the world.